There's another challenge NotebookLM users run into all the time, especially anyone working across multiple countries, sources, or audiences. NotebookLM doesn't provide a quick way to change languages. If you need the interface in one language but the AI's output in another, or if you're switching between multilingual research materials, you end up adjusting settings manually over and over. It breaks your flow, slows everything down, and makes cross-language work much harder than it should be. That's why NotebookLM Tools introduces multi-language power, a complete language control system built directly into the extension. On the NotebookLM page, you can see the extension's settings panel. This is where all language-related controls are centralized, so you no longer need to jump between different menus. At this point, the language hasn't been configured yet, so we need to set it up first. Clicking the Settings button brings me directly to the NotebookLM Tools settings page. On this settings page, you'll see the Language Settings section. Here, the extension gives you two separate language controls. The first one is Interface Language. This setting controls the language of NotebookLM's interface itself, including menus, buttons, and system text inside NotebookLM. Below that is Output Language. This controls the language used by NotebookLM's AI responses. So even if NotebookLM's interface stays in one language, I can generate summaries, answers, and notes in another language. One especially useful feature here is language starring. When you work with multiple languages, speed really matters. You don't want to scroll through a long list every time just to find the same languages again and again. That's why NotebookLM Tools lets you star your most used languages. Once a language is starred, it stays pinned at the top, so switching later takes just a single click. Now let me show you how it works. In the search box, I type Eng. English appears instantly. I click the star icon, and English is now saved as a favorite. I'll do the same for Vietnamese. I type Viet, select Vietnamese, and click the star. Now both English and Vietnamese are starred and always easy to access. When I need to switch languages while working, there's no need to search again. They're already right there. Now let's move down to Output Language and see how it works in practice. Just like before, I can search for the language I want. I type Eng, select English, and set it as the output language. And I click the star icon to pin it. Next, I search for Viet. I star Vietnamese the same way. And finally, I search for Ja. I find Japanese and click the star icon. Now, English, Vietnamese, and Japanese are all starred. They stay pinned at the top of the output language list, ready to use whenever I need them. Now I'm back on the NotebookLM page. Earlier, this panel only showed a Settings button, but after starring my languages, this panel has changed. Instead of the Settings button, I now see my starred languages right here. This turns the panel into a quick language switcher so I can change languages instantly without opening settings again. This setup step makes a big difference later. When I actually switch output languages during research, I don't have to search again. Everything is already one click away. To see this in action, let's look at the current interface. At the moment, NotebookLM is displayed in Japanese. From this panel, I can switch the interface language with just one click. First, I click VI. The entire NotebookLM interface immediately switches to Vietnamese menus, buttons, and labels all update at once. Then I click EN and the interface switches back to English. There's no page refresh, and I never have to reopen settings. But interface language is only half of the story. Now let's look at output language. This controls the language of NotebookLM's AI responses. I keep the interface in English, but I switch the output language to Vietnamese. When I ask a question or generate a summary, the AI now responds in Vietnamese. Next, I switch the output language to Japanese. The chat immediately switches to Japanese. Finally, I select English, and everything switches back smoothly. This makes switching languages feel instant and natural. Whether I'm reading, asking questions, or reviewing AI output, I can move between languages in seconds, without breaking my focus or workflow. After switching languages, there's one more thing you can customize, right inside the pop-up. When I open the pop-up settings, you'll see options to adjust the language switcher panel. From here, you can change the panel's position on the screen, top, middle, or bottom, aligned to the left or right. Below that is orientation. You can switch between vertical and horizontal, depending on how you want the language buttons to appear. Any change you make here applies instantly. As soon as I select a new position or orientation, the floating panel updates right away. No reload, no interruption. Overall, this multi-language setup makes NotebookLM much smoother to use. You can switch the interface language, control AI output language, and even adjust how the language panel appears, all in just a few clicks.